One of them is a returning guest, and you might know him for his book series, Percy Jackson and the Olympians. And joining him is an award-winning author known for his book, Anger is a Gift. Rick Riordan and Mark Oshiro will be joining us right here on Sidewalks Entertainment. Joining us to talk about the fantasy novel, The Sun and the Star, I'd like to welcome returning guest, New York Times bestselling author Rick Riordan, and award-winning author Mark Oshiro to Sidewalks Entertainment. Hi, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Hello, hello.
So Rick, the last time we had you on our show was about 2 years ago for your book, Daughter of the Deep. Apart from your book, or apart from working on The Sun and the Star, how have you been? Have you picked up any new hobbies? Traveled anywhere new? Have any new experiences?
Well, thanks for asking. We went to Ireland for a couple of weeks, which was the first time we'd gotten to go, my wife and I, to Europe since COVID, so that was nice. I've been learning my Italian language classes and my Irish language classes, and doing a lot of writing for both the TV show and for my own book. So I've been keeping busy.
Yeah, it sounds like it. That is so awesome. And Mark, this is your first time on Sidewalks Entertainment. Welcome.
Yes. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
You're an award-winning author, and you have tons of fans that follow you on social media. Of the work that you've done, what would you say was the start of your fame and success?
Oh, I don't know. I would say my debut in 2018, Anger is a Gift. It is still the book, actually, we were just talking about this. It turns 5 years old in 3 weeks. And I'm still thank you. And I'm still doing school visits for it. I'm still meeting kids and talking to people about this novel. I would definitely say my start was there, and I've been very lucky to get to write in so many different genres and now to collaborate with Rick.
Yeah, so Rick, how do you and Mark know each other?
I was a fan of Mark's writing. Anger is a Gift was probably the first book where I really fell in love with Mark's style. But when I started thinking about doing The Sun and the Star, doing a book from Nico's perspective, I really didn't want to handle that myself because I thought it needed a defter touch. It needed more emotional space to breathe. And so I wanted to find a co-author who could kind of bring those qualities to the book and do justice to these characters, Nico and Will. And Steph, my editor, and I agreed that Mark was that person.
So Mark, what inspired you to become an author? And was this something that you've always wanted to do?
Yes, and I believe as we are doing this tour for this book, people will get to see actual evidence that I was writing books when I was in elementary school. This is literally the thing that I have wanted to do, was to have books with my name on the cover. So I've had this sort of singular goal, and I actually have a very specific inspiration, though, which is that when I was 14 years old, my freshman year English teacher, Miss Alford, if you're still out there listening to me, she assigned us to read a book called The House on Mango Street by Sandra Cisneros, and it was the first book I'd ever read with a Latino main character, and it changed my life. It made me realize that I could write about my identity, I could write about the sort of things that I was going through, and so that has always been sort of like my anchor for why I became an author.
That's great, and that's so awesome that your teacher made such an impression, or was so memorable to you, or made such an impression on you that you remembered her. Oh my gosh! I bet you she's watching right now. She's like, "That is my student," with like such pride.
That's right.
So Rick, tell me a little bit more about The Sun and the Star.
Well, it features Nico di Angelo and Will Solis, two very popular characters from the Percy Jackson universe, but it is a standalone adventure, so you don't have to know every single Percy Jackson book to get into this one. Nico and Will basically have to go on an adventure into Tartarus, the deepest and most dangerous part of the underworld, to hopefully rescue a friend that was left there years ago.
It's a light romp. Nothing wrong will happen.
It'll be a piece of cake.
That.
So, Mark, how did you get brought on board to join Rick in writing The Sun and the Star? And how familiar were you with Rick's work before working with him?
So I had read the Percy Jackson series before. Actually, it's very interesting. The week my book came out in 2018, I had asked a friend I needed something to read in between events while I was traveling. And she was like, you need to read the Percy Jackson books. I don't know what's wrong with you. How have you not read them? So I devoured, up until that point, I think only 14 of the books were out from the 3 series. And I read them all in like 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Devoured the books, reread them again when the final book in the Trials of Apollo came out. And Rick doesn't remember this, but that is actually where I met Rick for the first time. Was at.
Wait, where did you meet him?
I don't remember where, and I've gone through my emails to find out, but you did an event for that book when it came out, and we very briefly met for seconds. Like, it was one of those things where you just pass through, but I have a signed copy of that. It's the only one of the books that I have that's signed.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And I've not shared this with Rick until this moment because no one's asked me about this. So I have like a deep love for this series, and Nico is my favorite character. I had worked with our editor, Steph Lurie, before on a project, and so, I got a call through my agent, and I was like, there was no part of me that was like, oh, should I do this? I don't know. I was like, are you kidding me? This is me. Nico di Angelo is my son. Like, let's go. Like, I was ready from the get-go. And so I was brought on. I did basically like a sample to give them an idea of what my style would be attempting a Percy Jackson book. And from there, the collaboration was always back and forth. I took the outline that Rick wrote. I edited that. Then once we were ready to draft, I wrote the first draft. Rick wrote the second. And every step of the way through our editor, it was, let's collaborate on every aspect of this.
Yeah.
That is amazing. And Rick, do you remember meeting him?
I am ashamed to say. I hope I was nice.
Very nice. But Rick meets so many people.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
That is. So, Rick, when working with another author, how did the two of you combine your creative ideas together to write this book?
Well, I think, it just starts with for me, recognizing that there are some things I do well and other things that I need help with. And happily, I think that our styles dovetail together very nicely. So some of those lovely moments between the two characters, for instance, Will and Nico, that I probably would not have thought of. I had Mark to sort of supply that oxygen into the story to give their relationship a little time to breathe. It was a learning experience for me in the best possible way.
Beautiful, beautiful. And Mark, what was your experience like working on this book and creating the story of Nico, who's the son of Hades, and Will, who's the son of Apollo?
My experience has been such a dream writing this book, and it's also very fun and very funny at times. I loved getting the manuscript back from Rick and finding new jokes in it that I would never think of, because this was a learning experience too. I tend to be more on the cerebral, the introspective. I write these very emotional, flowing young adult and middle grade novels. So action is actually not my forte. So I was learning a lot from Rick throughout the process as well. So I felt like I was learning. I was getting to contribute a lot. I think getting to have so much freedom to add to Percy Jackson canon really made this rewarding for me. Getting to create new characters, getting to actually say like, hey, what if we do this? And having that just really true collaboration just made this such a wonderful experience.
So, Mark, for your next novel, would you ever consider bringing Rick on board to collaborate with your next book?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, and thinking some ideas.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
I'll come up with something very chaotic, though.
Okay.
Very chaotic for us to do.
That's fair.
I love hearing the two of you guys go back and forth because it really does sound like you guys had so much fun writing The Sun and the Star. Well, I mean, because the two of you wrote The Sun and the Star together, did it take longer for... Did the process take longer, or was it about the same amount of time if you were to write, solo?
I don't know. It
felt like a regular time.
Yeah, I mean, it really did. It felt not too different than the timeline when I would write a book myself.
Yeah, no, I don't think it necessarily took longer because it just was... Actually, if anything, from my perspective, it was shorter because you would do a version that I would normally have to be doing. So I guess it was technically half as much work as I'm used to.
Well, both of you are just fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. Everyone, that was Rick Riordan and Mark Oshiro, authors of the fantasy novel, The Sun and the Star. Mark, Rick, you guys take care.
It was our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
For more full-length celebrity interviews, visit us at sidewalkstv.com, our YouTube channel, and don't forget to follow us on social media.